Hi guys, welcome back to another episode on Beauty Within. It's your greasy girl, Fel. And today is another episode in our acne series because if you guys haven't been following along or you're just new to the channel, welcome. And today we're talking all about serums. And there's kind of like a family of serum products because it does actually include, or we like to lump serums, ampoules, and essences together. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about each of these and how they differ, but also how they might be very, very similar so that you can also, decide which one to choose from. And this is following on from our toner video because I broke up the previous 2 episodes of toners into, chemical exfoliating ones that really help to slough away dead skin, prevent breakouts, and deal with active breakouts. But then in a skincare routine, you also want very soothing and calming ingredients to work with the chemical exfoliants that are really great for all and every skin type because we definitely should have our calming, soothing friends in life and in our routine. And the serums that I'm going to be mentioning today are personally my favorite. Some of them I've used for years and years. I'm in love with the formulation, in love with the key active ingredients that really help with, redness, calming inflammation, and then also dealing with those darker brownish acne marks that come from, like scarring. And then there are also ones that I've recently discovered that I think are really great for you guys if you're looking for something affordable. So there is definitely something for all of you across all price ranges. So if you haven't joined the Beauty Within family yet, make sure you do. We would love to have you on board our skincare journey, and press the notification bell so you stay up to date on all our new updates. So let's just get into it, see what we have today because I have a lot. All right, so quick general overview on what serums, essences, and ampoules are and how they might differ slightly. So starting off with serums, serums are a booster shot that contains high levels of active ingredients to really target specific skin concerns that you might be facing. Now these concerns, as we know, we have a lot of concerns, right? Can range anywhere from hyperpigmentation from either sun damage or even acne marks. And then there's like dullness and dehydration, even flaky skin, which needs hydration. So all of these are different skin concerns that all of us kind of like have differently. That all of us will face from time to time. It's not going to be the same every week or every day. This is why sometimes we use serums, sometimes we don't. And this is why we use some ingredients and sometimes we don't. Now serums can come in 2 different types in terms of formulation, and that's water-based and also oil-based, which determines the texture that you feel, but also it really comes down to your preference in what you like on your skin that works well with skin types. Now water-based serums absorb very quickly into the skin and usually contain potent water-soluble ingredients like vitamin C and hyaluronic acid. On the other hand, oil-based serums contain skin-nourishing oils, for example, botanical oils, and take a little bit longer for the skin to absorb. And that's why you might experience your face being a little more like greasy and shiny, not in a bad way, in a very healthy way. And also water-based and oil-based carries active ingredients differently throughout the skin. So it actually comes down to your skin type, your personal preference, and also the active ingredients that's all working simultaneously to build this little serum that we have in a bottle. So if serums were a booster shot, ampoules are like the booster shot to the booster shot. They're typically formulated with even higher concentrations of these active ingredients and are intended to be used when your skin is undergoing a very specific crisis. Okay, so the definitions are pretty general, but how I understand ampoules is like it can offer you a very effective fix for a short-term skin concern. And in Korea, you'll find them packaged in very small vials because they are quite potent. So you can definitely use ampoules as your serum because they are essentially in the same family. Now moving on to essences. This one to me can get a little confusing because depending on like which brand you're looking at, every brand will kind of define essence differently. The essence can fall into the category of toners, but they can also be an essence serum. For example, the Tatcha essence to me, I featured in the toner video because it is so watery. It's just like, straight up water from a well. And then you have essences that are more goopy in consistency, which in my mind is a serum. But generally generally they're more lightweight and less concentrated and really add that layer of hydration to parched, dehydrated skin. Great for oily skin as well, because as we know, we need hydration. Now, what you all came here for, the product reviews of some of my favorite serum ampoules and essences. Because there are so many types, I'm gonna split them up into the active ingredients. So first we're going to go into chemical exfoliating serums, ampoules, and essences. So typically when I find myself reaching for these chemical exfoliating serums is when I feel that it's starting to bubble to the surface. Like there's little bumps on my skin, or I know that time of month is coming, so I have to kind of prevent anything from coming before it might have been coming, or even in the stages of like active breakouts, and I really need to calm it down. Now, as I said before, I don't think you need to double up on a toner that has AHA, BHA, as well as a serum with AHA, BHA. I would say like choose one or the other. Balance. So if your toner already has chemical exfoliating, use a soothing and calming serum, and vice versa. So let's start off first with one of my favorite brands, and boy do I have a kicker of some information for you for this one. This is the Sun by Me, the Hjbha AHA, BHA, PHA 30-day Miracle Serum. If you watch the toner, I rave on and on about their toner version of this because I think it's wonderful. It contains niacinamide and all the 3 types of chemical exfoliants. But what this is a biphase serum, which means there's a layer of oil and also a layer of water, and you have to shake it to kind of activate them together so that you get a very, well dispersed spread over the face. And I think this entire line is made specifically for people who are dealing with breakouts but are also very sensitive to certain ingredients, which is why there's PHA, which is the most gentle form of chemical exfoliant. And why this is the most gentle is because it's got a larger molecular size, which means it won't penetrate as deeply as something that's smaller, like glycolic acid. Now here's the kicker. When we were looking into the ingredients to find what the BHA is, we actually couldn't find the BHA component. This is like a murder mystery without the murder. I only say that because I've been watching murder mysteries. So normally if you look at it, BHA will come up as salicylic acid, any form of salicylate, or even willow bark, which is more of that natural component of BHA. But in the ingredients, although this contains very wonderful things, we couldn't find the BHA for the life of us. So if you guys can solve the mystery and help us find it, leave it in the comments, because we literally looked through different websites, their own website, resellers, other retailers, and we couldn't find the BHA. Oh my God. It's like Casper the Ghost. I find this one really great. Although it's got the oil on the top, it's very lightweight. It doesn't leave your skin feeling sticky. It's more watery than oily. If you have oily combination skin, this would be really great. Like it just sinks into the skin, and it just has a very, very light scent of the tea tree water. It's really great. Now moving on to more of a recent addition and discovery for me is the AHA BHA Correcting Serum. Now this serum is pretty straightforward. In terms of AHA, contains glycolic acid, and glycolic acid to me is just one of those really effective chemical exfoliants because it can really help to shed the dead skin and unstick the glue that's holding and trapping bacteria in your pores that does cause breakouts. And then in terms of PHA, it contains gluconolactone, which is another gentle chemical exfoliant. So they work together, and the ingredient list of this is very simple to me. So everything else that this is formulated in has to do with the hydration purposes like glycerin, but right at the end it does contain tea tree leaf oil as well as peppermint oil. So if you're super sensitive to those ingredients, that's something to take note of. But this is a beautiful lightweight consistency. It doesn't have that goopy texture like the ordinary serums have, and it blends into the skin like a dream. There's no fragrance in here. This is great, especially if you're kind of like starting out into the realm of chemical exfoliants. It's not as potent as some other formulations. So that's this one there. Okay, now moving on to one that I'm really excited to share with you guys is the Bliss Clarifying Toner Serum. Okay, so this has BHA, witch hazel, niacinamide, as well as zinc, and also Centella asiatica. Why I'm so excited about this one is because, you can find this in the drugstore, you can find this at Target, but if you look at the ingredients, it's the greatest concoction of ingredients that I would ever want for things like controlling your sebum production if you're super oily, for breaking down dead skin that could be, you know, cooping up the bacteria, causing your breakouts. You know, there's also ingredients that really help to brighten the skin, like niacinamide is the all-star ingredient. And then it's got salicylic acid as well as willow bark for the BHA components, which really help to go down into the pores because it is oil soluble to break down any of that gunk that's inside, stuck in the sebum. Then it's also got zinc PCA, which is a great ingredient for any acne-prone skin gal or guy because it helps to regulate sebum production. And you guys know I love the ordinary niacinamide and zinc. So it's just a great ingredient for blemish-prone skin. And then my favorite, Centella asiatica extract, which helps to calm inflammation. I can't even believe that the concoction of these ingredients is in such an affordable drugstore product because it is really hard to find. So I'm really impressed with the formulation of that. Now, the consistency is also quite satisfying. It almost comes out like a gel moisturizer. So you pop the cap open and then you pump it out a little and it's this clear gel. Whoop, bloop, 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 bloop. And it's like very refreshing and it kind of like bursts on your skin like a gel moisturizer does, and it doesn't leave the skin feeling tacky or sticky at all. It just glides over the face really nicely. Now moving on to probably one of the first chemical exfoliating serums that I ever used when I was in like the pits of desperation. It was like popping up 2 pimples every day and I didn't even know what was happening. So I went to Sephora, picked up this thing, I don't know how, but it's the Drunk Elephant TLC Framboost Glycolic Resurfacing Night Serum. Now this one is a pretty penny because all of Drunk Elephant products are pretty expensive, but I do have to say that out of the entire range of Drunk Elephant, I would say this one is the only one that I would probably buy, as well as the polypeptide moisturizer. But anyway, so this one contains 12% AHA and BHA, and it is a night serum because it is very effective for resurfacing the skin, you know, helping with texture, hyperpigmentation, and active breakouts. The AHA, it contains glycolic, tartaric, lactic, and citric acid, so it's a pretty like well-formed AHA family, and then the BHA is the salicylic acid. Then it's also got raspberry fruit extract, which is an antioxidant that can also help to soothe the skin, and also sodium hyaluronate for hydration and allantoin for soothing and nourishing. So this one is a clear gel and it also spreads really easily over the skin. It's not sticky. So I think from memory, I did use this like 3 years ago. I really haven't used it because I was kind of scared for it to run out because it was so expensive. But I can tell you that it works. But I think it did tend to dry my skin out at that time because at that time I just wanted to blast away all my skin. This was when I was less educated in like soothing, calming ingredients and just use this by itself. It's not scary, it's not going to like peel your face, but if you're more combination or you're more like dry, then it can definitely have drying effects because of the rapid exfoliation of dead skin. Now, following on the train of the more potent chemical exfoliating serums is the Pharmacy Honeymoon Glow. This is one that Rowena and I really loved back when it came out and we were really into chemical exfoliating, and it really does help to like shed any flaky skin, any unevenness, because it's formulated with 14% AHA and BHA. So if you guys know, Pharmacy is known for their echinacea, but they also use a lot of honey, and this one contains flower acids including hibiscus flower extract and hyaluronic acid to hydrate and, you know, plump the skin so it looks nice and glowing. And on top of that, it's got the honey, royal jelly extract, and propolis, which is probably one of my favorite soothing, calming ingredients and something that Pharmacy is really known for. I love their mask, love their mask. It's like my holy grail mask. And honey just acts as this really great antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, and delivers hydration and that suppleness to the skin that is unmatched. So this one, I do remember when I applied it, it was really strong because my eyeballs could feel it. And there is a little bit of tingling, and that tingling subsides, and then in the morning you're literally glowing. So you definitely want to try this one if you're already quite well versed and you know your skin can handle chemical exfoliants. Maybe you look for that once a week glow. I feel like this serum is awesome and probably one of my favorites if you're about that intensity. But if you're just beginning out, I would definitely say start with something more like the Beauty Bay or even the Good Molecules, because the formulation of that is a little bit more gentle. It's got more hydrating ingredients formulated in it without being so potent. Now we have the Naturium one. This is the Vitamin C Super Serum Plus, and probably one of my top serums in their range because it is formulated with all the ingredients that I really love, including salicylic acid. It's even got retinol, it's got vitamin C, glycerin niacinamide, and then glutathione for brightening. So it is more of that goopy texture, but it spreads on like a dream. It's super lightweight. It doesn't completely dissolve to like a super watery consistency, but it's very, very close. In terms of what it does, it's very similar to the Sun by Me, but the stand out to me is that it's formulated with all the very well researched ingredients that are known to help with acne, with controlling pores, and with really just evening out skin texture. So if you're going to use this, I would say I only use my chemical exfoliating products at night because I feel like that's the rejuvenation time. I don't want to subject my skin to potential damage, which kind of like defeats the purpose of even using these products in the first place if you're going to be going outside in the sun. So just stick to vitamin C in the morning, you know what I mean? But if you are going to use it during the day, you still can. Just make sure you load up on that sunscreen. Now moving on to the niacinamide potent serums. Now there's a few, and as we know, in my mind, niacinamide serums or boosters are just synonymous with Paula's Choice because it's just one of my favorite. And one of the first ones I ever used, still my holy grail, is the 10% niacinamide booster. This one contains vitamin B3, which is niacinamide, as well as panthenol, which is vitamin B5. Now, niacinamide is well researched, and anywhere between like 2, 5, 10% can really work wonders on any skin type. And why it's so great is because it's not as acidic as something like vitamin C, so it doesn't have the irritation that acidic ingredients can give. Why I love this is because 10% is a very effective amount, but the fact that you can add it into a serum or use it by itself or add it into a moisturizer just gives you so much flexibility for an ingredient that is already very flexible and gives you the most. And it's like water, it's almost like a toner, but I added it in here because sometimes I'll use the toner and then, you know, mix it with niacinamide. And I love using niacinamide with, you know, if you're using a retinol moisturizer at night. For me, it works really well. Mine is a little old, so I'm not gonna tell you, it's just oxidized. I've kept this one for a really long time. I actually have like 3 bottles open at once, but this one I think has lived its life. It's probably oxidized a little too far, so I'm probably not gonna use that anymore. So just a little example, bling. So if you guys are also like me and you love your niacinamide, then you might not know, but there is a 20% niacinamide treatment as well. This is definitely more of a treatment. So I would use this only with other soothing toners and soothing serums, and then I'll use this baby as a treatment and then moisturize, because 20% is a lot. And although I say that niacinamide is not irritating, at a percentage like this, it definitely can be. And they both actually contain ascorbyl glucoside, which is a type or a derivative of vitamin C. And for all those wondering, can you use vitamin C and B together? Ding ding, yes you can, especially when they're formulated together. So if you guys have any hesitation about mixing the two, just find a product that actually formulates it together and you're good. Done and dusted. All questions answered. Free as a bird. Do you like my tassels? Okay, anyway, there's also, I want to mention, which is like a newer product to me, is the Verst Just Breathe Clarifying Serum. I personally love Verst because I love their cleansing balm. I've used all of their vitamin C, which was really great texture. And then this one specifically is newer to their line and contains niacinamide for soothing and brightening, as well as willow bark. And then in that one, there's a zinc blend. So there's yeast extract, horse chestnut seed extract. I always find it funny when there's like this horse ingredient. I'm like, what is a horse doing in, but it's a chestnut. Anyways. And then there's licorice root, which is really great for brightening, for calming inflammation, really great for oily combination, acne prone skin. And I'm still testing it out, so I will have to tell you the result in probably a future video. I'm definitely gonna do another video for serums because there's just so many and I can't cover it all in time. Can you see I'm talking so fast because there's so many? Now moving into our last section are the retinol serums. ingredients. Before this, I would have only thought of using retinol as a moisturizer, but there have come a lot of affordable retinol serums that I think can really help with acne and blemishes and breakouts without causing a lot of irritation. So the first one is from Cerave, a drugstore brand that I really love. It's their Resurfacing Retinol Serum. This one also contains an encapsulated form of the retinol because, as we know, it can have irritating effects, but when it's encapsulated, the encapsulated form helps to deliver the ingredients in a much more controlled and slower method so that overnight it really releases and works its magic rather than just being like a shock to the system. And so if you love the ingredient but you find that it can be a little drying or anything like that, finding a encapsulated form of that is a really great option. I love this one because of its affordability. It spreads really nicely over the skin. It comes out in this like weird little the top looks like a little R2-D2 thing. It didn't give me any side effects, so that was really great. Now, one that we actually mentioned very recently in my interview with Nafisa, we discussed the Ordinary Grand Active Retinoid 2% in squalane. They also have one that's 5% and it's also formulated in squalane oil. So this is a really effective serum that can help address signs of aging as well as acne and really just to like control all of that inflammation that is going on, because vitamin A or retinols are studied to be very effective with dealing with breakouts and acne. The fact that this is formulated in an oil base makes it much more nourishing to me because it like creates a buffer to the skin. And I just think it's very pleasant to apply and you only need a little bit. And squalane really helps with nourishing. It's 100% plant derived. It's great for people with oily skin because oil and oil actually work really well together. And another great oil that it's formulated with is jojoba seed oil, which is also a great oil for all skin types, especially oily skin. So just depending on how familiar you are with the ingredient, 2% is a great starting point. I didn't find any irritation at all. And if you're done with that, you're like, yeah, this is good, I wanna maybe try something a little bit more, then you can try the 5%. So we did our chemical exfoliants, we did niacinamide, we did vitamin A's. Now I just wanna end on one of my favorites as well. It is another booster, but you can use it alone as a serum because it's like almost like a moisturizer consistency, a very lightweight moisturizer. Once again, you can add it into your moisturizer, add it into your serums, but I actually like using it straight after my toner as a serum, and then I'll follow with a moisturizer. And azelaic acid is just so great if you enjoy the effects of chemical exfoliants, but you can't stand it. Maybe you have like super sensitive skin, then I would suggest trying azelaic acid because it does actually work slower but longer term, but gives you very similar effects. It also contains triglycerides for replenishing the skin and, you know, building and retaining moisture. It's also got a tiny bit of licorice extract as well as salicylic acid. And so this concoction all together really just helps to control problematic skin in the most gentle way. So I absolutely love it. It's probably one of my favorite boosters of the Paula's Choice range. So now guys, I was going to talk a little bit more about the hydrating ones because they're muy importante. But I think this is enough for one episode for you guys to all digest, you know, go back to the drawing board, see what it is that you need, and then we'll come back with a soothing, calming serums video to work in conjunction with these serums. Personally, I really love calming serums. It's just like self-care to me because the texture is so plush, it's so hydrating, it's like a little gel bubble. I love it. So make sure you check out our 2 previous videos on toners if you haven't seen it already. And make sure you stay tuned on the channel because our next episode is all about double cleansing and there's much more to come in terms of the Serum Ampoule Essence family. And just a reminder, if you're feeling down, you guys are all doing great, sweetie. What did I learn today? Rowena's not here to ask me the question. This is awkward doing it by yourself, let me just tell you. Do you like my gladiator sandals that I paired with this twinkle twinkle dress? What do I say? Something motivational. Bye!